I get a deluge of DMs on Twitter and Instagram with all sorts of photos, newspaper articles, and just simple messages of support, which was to be expected somewhat, but what I did not expect were the countless number of people hitting the books and doing tons of research on my behalf. Literally hundreds of people sent me every scrap of information they could find. To everybody who participated in this or just got the word out, thank you. I mean it. Thanks. This whole thing blew up to something way bigger than I ever thought possible, and it connected me with a lot of people who shed tons of new light on this long-forgotten track. But where to start with all this new info? I guess we'll just go in chronological order of my discoveries like we did with the initial video, so here goes. Within 5 hours of going live, Justin Wynn, going by the handle Mathematic on Twitter, hit me up with this gem and claimed half the bounty right off the bat. He got hold of a promotional ad placed in the local newspaper that had a picture of Airbase Speedway right at the top of the post. The ad was for one of the unsanctioned races held in April of 1951. And for an unsanctioned race, we got some pretty big names here. Buck Baker, Bob Flock, and NASCAR's very first champion, Red Byron. This shouldn't be too surprising, though, considering that if you wanted to make a living racing stock cars back then, you basically had to hit up every single race you could possibly get to, whether it was sanctioned by NASCAR or not. Now, I had asked for a ground-level shot of the outside of the track, mostly because I thought this was going to be the only practical option. But this low-flying aerial shot is even better, and it is damn high quality, too. I couldn't ask for a better shot even if I had traveled back in time with a drone. This exceeded all of my expectations and cleared up a few assumptions I had made about the track from the high-altitude aerials in the previous video. In turns 1 and 2, I thought these were maybe billboards, but no. I think they just built wooden walls that high. You can see the light poles that they had placed all around the track so they could hold the many night races.
Goshen, Indiana.
The grandstands of this track aren't like most grandstands at the time, where they would just build up a mound of dirt and lay down concrete steps. Instead, at Airbase, they seem to have been built out of wood or maybe even steel, which would explain why they weren't there in the 1964 aerial shots when it had been closed down. By then, the stands had been torn down and sold for scrap. I think there's the flag stand in the infield at turn 4 of the quarter-mile track, but I still don't see a ticket booth or any concession stand. This article, though, says there will be cold drinks and sandwiches for sale at the track, so I guess we just have to go with what a lot of commenters suggested, saying that maybe they held all these facilities underneath the grandstands. It's covered in shadow in this photo, so we'll just have to guess at this point, unfortunately. This ad even tells us what they used to chemically treat the surface of the track with, some unknown calcium compound. After part 1 of the bounty had been claimed in a matter of hours, my hopes were high that part 2, an action shot of the track, would come rolling in soon. However, I'd have to wait a while. In the meantime, though, Adam Fenwick, news director of Speed Sport magazine, reached out to me. An article in the January 2015 issue titled NASCAR's Forgotten Race might have a few clues about Airbase, and he told me they had digital copies of pretty much every issue ever published, and said he'd go looking for it when he returned back to work the next day. Sure
okay, I won't be actually able to have guys. Well, some videos I will be having pre-recorded, but I can't confirm now. Pre-recorded, all this will be renamed. I'm not going to do that.
Talk about some other races held at the facility.
So no.
Then mention something startling. NASCAR and everybody else up to this point in 2015 had erroneously credited Greenville Pickens Speedway as hosting this race. Tom Schmay reached out to me via email and told me the story. Jonathan Nelson had done most of the heavy lifting on this piece and came up to Tom one day in late 2014 and said he had found an error in NASCAR's record keeping. They researched a little further, but after the World of Outlaws finals in November of that year at Charlotte Motor Speedway, they decided to drive south to Greenville, South Carolina and check out the main library for more information. There they confirmed Jonathan's suspicions and published the article a couple of months later, and shortly thereafter, everyone, including NASCAR, changed their records and gave credit for the August 25th, 1951 Grand National race to Airbase Speedway. Thanks to the hard work of Tom Schmay and Jonathan Nelson, this one article is literally the only reason why we even know this track exists in the first place. So why the confusion? Well, Greg Fielden's 40 years of stock car racing is the ultimate source on early NASCAR racing and is largely seen as the definitive be-all, end-all truth when it comes to NASCAR records and history. He likely was just looking over his sources, saw Grand National race Greenville, South Carolina, and just assumed, like so many other people, that it was Greenville Pickens Speedway. Another thing that they found in the article was a qualifying speed for the pole sitter Jesse James Taylor, just shy of 53 miles an hour with a time of 31.06 seconds. That is horrendously slow, not just by today's standards, but for the time as well. The culprit for these slow speeds? Bad track conditions. The article even found evidence of one unsanctioned race in May of 1950 being called off due to bad track conditions after just 15 laps, and Charlie Rush being declared the winner. Safe to say the track promoter Charlie Hicks was jumping into this whole stock car racing thing without having a clue about what he was doing. So much for his promo material touting the track as the South's fastest half mile. In the midst
the new iPhone 14 Pro. It's amazing.
Yes, the camera is incredible. And you'll get our best deal.
Nice. But everyone should get it.
Everyone can get it.
This commercial's stupid. I don't want Apple. I don't like Apple products. No offense.
In the midst of the mad dash to find pictures of the Speedway, a few people sent me articles from local newspapers just hoping to help out, and inadvertently they gave me the story behind Airbase Speedway's demise. Charlie Hicks had apparently been trying to secure a loan for the Speedway under false pretenses. He said he owned the track fair and square with no issues. Problem was, however, that was a lie. He actually had a lien on his property. That means he couldn't sell or lease the property because the creditors had actual legal ownership of the track, probably due to unpaid bills. Charlie Hicks got fined $2,000 in September of 1951, which equates to nearly $20,000 in today's money. That likely put Charlie Hicks under, and by the time 1952 rolled around, the track was no more, likely liquidated by the people he owed money to. I had guessed that the track didn't even make it a decade, and I was right. Airbase Speedway only existed from 1949 to 1952, so any information on it is relegated to a very narrow window of time. To be quite honest, it's amazing we found anything at all, let alone such a crisp, low-flying aerial shot. But during everybody's haste to claim the bounty, I got a lot of photos that were definitely not of Airbase Speedway. Whether these were honest mistakes or grifters just trying to get a quick 60 bucks, I'll leave up to the racing gods to decide. But after a Jalopnik article picked up on my hunt for Airbase Speedway and added this photo for reference, everyone started sending me this pic saying they had found the action shot, even though this is clearly of the Daytona Beach circuit. I mean, hell, you can even see the paved section of Highway A1A right there in the shot. This photo of Greenville Pickens Speedway from the late 1940s got passed around a lot too. I've attended literally hundreds of races at Greenville Pickens, and I know the geography of the track like the back of my hand. This shot is taken from turn 3 looking at turns 1 and 2. Turns 1 and 2 have a hill behind them. The terrace of parked cars, probably the most famous aspect of Greenville Pickens Speedway, is visible in the shot too. And those reeds growing in the infield are from a creek that runs down the middle of the speedway. Today they've made a tunnel for the creek to cross under the track, but in time the little creek became known as Blackwell's Lagoon, in reference to the Blackwell brothers who would go on to own it. A few shots of Weaverville Speedway got sent to me as well, and honestly I can't blame the people that did this. There's a flag stand in the infield, just like our low aerial shot, and in general the whole track just looks really cheaply built. But the dirt mounds that acts as the front stretch wall are nowhere to be found at Airbase, so this is a no-go too. I did get some pictures that are all but impossible to verify, like this shot of Bob Flock in the pits with his number 7 car. He ran the number 7 at Airbase, but then again he ran that number at a lot of races, so there's no way to know for sure. I also got this shot of a wrecker at a night race that somebody says they found in a photo album titled Airbase, but again, there's no way to verify this. With so many erroneous pictures now flooding my DMs, I began to lose hope of finding the action shot I was looking for. But Wednesday afternoon on September the 4th, Matthew Ludwigson sent me this pic via Getty Images. Now, Getty Images states this was a modified race held at Greenville Pickens Speedway in the 50s, but Matthew maintains that this is a shot of Airbase Speedway. The image is posted on Getty Images by ISC Images and Archives based out of Daytona, the same ISC that owns a good chunk of NASCAR's tracks today. The weird thing was, I had actually seen this picture before, but just took the description for granted. But upon further inspection, I think Matt might be right. There's a light pole right there. We know Airbase had lights mounted on the inside of the track. We know the track hosted modified stock car races fairly often, but the dead giveaway for me is the geography around the track. As stated before, Greenville Pickens has hills in turns 1 and 2, so maybe this photo was taken towards turns 3 and 4. Well, no way. There's a river that runs behind turns 3 and 4, and you couldn't mount telephone poles back there. Plus, look at the infield. Greenville Pickens infield actually has a lot of rises and falls. It's far from flat. Turns 3 and 4 actually rise up quite a bit from the infield there. But this photo from the infield is perfectly flat. Not to mention the soil is different. Greenville Pickens is known for its red clay, but here we have a sandy, lighter shade of soil. That's usually indicative of the Piedmont area where Airbase is located. Also, take a look at the trees. Those are pine trees, and there aren't any pine trees near Greenville Pickens Speedway. This photo is beyond a shadow of a doubt not of Greenville Pickens Speedway. So why the error? The same reason why everybody misattributed Airbase as Greenville Pickens Speedway. It was in the Greenville area, and record keepers saw Greenville in the title and just assumed it was Greenville Pickens, and not Greenville Textile Speedway, aka Airbase Speedway. Now, who am I or anybody else to question Getty Images and ISC? Well, who was Jonathan Nelson to question all the record keepers in NASCAR itself? Big names have gotten the two mixed up before, and maybe when Nelson and Schmay's article dropped, Getty never got around to reviewing this image. So I'm calling it. This is an action shot, not of Greenville Pickens Speedway, but of Airbase Speedway. We found the shot. Here it is. Now, how much would it cost to buy this photo outright? Jesus, $500? Never mind. Someone else can claim that. You guys are just going to have to deal with the watermark for now. So how do we dole out the bounty? Well, I said they had to come as a package deal, but information was so scarce that became unreasonable. I could split it 50-50, but that would be kind of sleazy, so I'm just going to give them the full bounty of $60. One of the winners actually declined the bounty and instead gave his winnings to Victory Junction. Good on him. And real talk for a second, I am absolutely amazed at the response to this little quest of mine. I honestly didn't think this video would take off the way that it did, and the bounty would just remain open forever. But here we are. I want to thank Justin Wynn and Matthew Ludwigson for all of their hard work, and a special shout out to Adam Finley for sending me the article about the Speedway, and an even more special shout out to Tom Schmay and Jonathan Nelson for their diligent hard work. It's because of them that we even know of Airbase Speedway at all. So thanks, guys. Thank you to everybody who participated in this crazy ride. But I'm still curious, is there anything left of the Speedway? Can we see the remains of this long dead and nearly forgotten track? You know what? Pack your bags, kids. It's time for a field trip. Come on, hurry up. You ain't got time for permission slips from your parents. Let's go. Just pack up your stuff and let's hit the road. We're doing this. We're doing it. It's time for a slap field trip.
Gasoline companies used in NASCAR? Question mark? Or should I make the video? Period. Question mark.
Hello, I'm Franklin Graham. We're in election season and many politicians are promising that they're telling the truth. I can tell you there's one who always tells the truth. That is the Lord Jesus Christ. He said, "I'm the way, the truth, and the life, and no man
blah blah blah."
through me.
No offense to the Lord, but I don't talk about the Lord or religion on this channel because I don't want to get my ass kicked by idiots. I don't want to get my ass kicked by everyone. So do? I don't deal with the crap because I don't want to get my ass kicked by everyone in town, so I don't deal with that stuff. Ooh, I gotta finish that letter up today and mail it out.
On this channel, we tracked down the mysterious Airbase Speedway and went over what little information was easily accessible about the track. Other than a couple of archived aerial photos and some newspaper clippings, I could hardly find anything at all. So I put up a bounty for some more footage.
So maybe I'll do that today. Finish that letter up, mail that letter out today. Yeah, so guys, someone's gonna be getting a letter today. I just have to do one more thing to it, then I can send it out, which at this time I'm ready to send it out. All I have to do is just have to give me an envelope and lost footage of Wizard of Oz.
The classic 1939 adaptation of